Okay, hello there, incredible ladies. I'd like to officially welcome everybody to this Thriver class. I'm Julia, the creator of Thrivers, and this is really exciting because this is when we check in with our wellness to make sure that we're looking after our bodies and minds so we are able to be the best person we can be. Now, before I introduce our incredible partner, I've seen there's a couple of newbies here, so welcome to Thrivers. It's so great to have you here, and it's even nicer to see women investing in themselves, especially for tonight where you're investing in your self-love. It's really, really important. And also a special hello to our members. I see you're here and it's so great to have you in the live session. And if you're watching in your own time, then sit back, relax. I mean, you can sit back and relax right now. But yeah, grab your favorite wine, and then maybe next time, or a tea, a herbal tea might be good for tonight. And next time, maybe join us for the live session, because the great thing about these sessions is you get to ask the expert your questions. So yeah, we hope you join us soon. And now, if you aren't familiar with Thrivers, on the website we have really inspiring interviews. We interview successful women and publish them every other week. Last week we had this incredible woman. She was called Dr. Samantha Tross, and she's an orthopedic surgeon in Britain. She's actually the first female Black orthopedic surgeon. She is just so amazing talking to her, and I suggest all women should read her interview because she had so many wise words for women, and an ambitious women in she just had really some great words to talk about balance when you are thriving for your life goals. And on the other side, we have these Thriver classes where we partner with experts in wellness, wealth, and work so they can impart their knowledge and help us thrive in all areas of our lives. So now, before I check in with our expert tonight, I just want to check if everyone is happy with Zoom. So yeah, tell us where you're calling from. How is your day? If you could sum up your day in one word, what would it be? I think mine would be energized. I was so looking forward to having some self-pampering. It just felt really good looking forward to this session at the end of the day. So I know we've got a couple of people from the UK. Hello, I've got a couple of regulars here. Some people from Sydney, it's awesome. Someone from Melbourne. So yeah, don't be shy. You can either use the chat. So we have this amazing platform called Zoom. So you can ask anything you like. In the chat, everyone can see, and then we've got a little Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. If you tap on that, then that brings up a little box, and that just means that the expert and I can see your questions, and we'll ask them when the appropriate time arrives. So today we're really honoured to have with us Rosie O'Halloran, who's a life coach. Rosie works with clients one-on-one in group sessions and on retreats, and I'm just going to put her contacts in the chat. Rosie, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thanks, Julia. Hello to the beautiful Thrivers community. It's a joy to be with you this evening.
So Rosie, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? Because I know you do some ultra creative classes, such as your circles, and yeah, I think it's intriguing.
Yeah, sure. I would say in essence, my work is all about supporting people to journey from their head to their hearts. That's something that I think I became very passionate about from a young age, and I don't think it's a one-off journey. I think it's something that we continue to come back to in our life. As Julia mentioned, I'm a life coach, so I do one-on-one work with individuals, but I also create and facilitate retreats and workshops and run circles predominantly for women, but I've also just started working with men as well. And I'm also very passionate about holistic well-being, so I also have my own essential oils business.
Amazing. So yeah, firstly, before we move on, I just want to congratulate everyone coming to this session, because taking regular time out for yourself is so important. I know Rosie's going to talk a bit about that in a minute, but yeah, don't hold back your questions. We love questions, and I know this is going to be super interactive. So yeah, I'll pass over to you, Rosie.
Perfect. Do we want to just check people have got a pen and a notebook or something?
Yeah. Yeah, so if anyone wants to grab a pen and a paper, I've even lit a candle just to create some ambience for the evening.
I've got some beautiful oils in the diffuser.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I wish it was smell-o-vision or webinar, so we could all get the yummy scents.
What essence do you have burning?
At the moment, I've got a blend called Easy Air, which is kind of like have you ever used Vicks?
Oh, yes.
Scrub.
Is it like eucalyptus?
Yeah, it's just a beautiful oil to support really deep breathing. And I've got another blend called Citrus Bliss, which is a citrusy vanilla uplifting aroma.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, I assume everyone's got their pens and paper ready. I know I've got mine here.
I've got mine.
Brilliant.
Would you like me to kick things
Yeah,
off?
yeah, let's go.
Okay, beautiful. Well, I'm really excited to spend the next 60 minutes with each of you. And one of the things that Julia and I set up for this workshop was this idea that this would be 1 hour of uninterrupted time for you to focus on the most important person in your life, which is you. And really, I hope that this workshop provides you with some tools to empower you in your self-love practice, as well as offer experiences for you to actually come into that place of self-love during the next 60 minutes. And that's actually where I thought we would kick things off. So we're going to spend the next maybe 5 to 8 minutes doing a heart-focused breathing technique. If any of you were on the live call with us that Julia and I did a couple of days ago, you would have had a taste of that. This is a breathing technique that I learned when I was studying with the Institute of HeartMath. And really, it's an opportunity for us to centre. For some of us on the call, we've just maybe finished a long day at the office, maybe been in traffic or, on public transport on the way home. Or for some of us in the UK or other parts of the world, we might just be beginning our day. So this is a beautiful practice that you can start and end your day with. And it's one that you can add to your self-love toolkit. So before I walk you through the breathing technique, I just wanted each of you to jot down how you're feeling. So it might just be a word or two or a sentence, but I just wanted to start off by getting you to jot down. You don't have to put this in the notes. This can go directly into your journal or your notebook. Jot down how you're feeling. And then at the end of the breathing technique, we're going to check back in and write down how we're feeling then. Beautiful. So I'm going to walk you through this technique. It's pretty straightforward and I find it to be a really powerful practice, and it's definitely part of it's been a very solid part of my self-love foundation. So all you need to do is just sit comfortably, and I will invite you to close your eyes. None of you are on video, you've just got Julia and I's beautiful face. So we don't want to distract you though while you're breathing. So I do invite you to close your eyes and just sit comfortably in your chair or couch or wherever you are at the moment. And we're going to just take a moment now to take 3 deep breaths in and out. And you can really imagine that you're filling yourself up with air as you breathe in, and then maybe exhaling the day or the night that's just been as you breathe out. And so with those 3 deep breaths, you might now notice that you're starting to breathe a little slower, maybe a little deeper. I'm going to take that one step further now and set up a comfortable pattern of breathing. So all that means is that you'll be breathing in and out for the same amount of time, and you don't need to hold your breath at any point. I'm going to give you now a minute or so to just come into a comfortable rhythm, just breathing in and out for the same amount of time. You might like to just count in your mind for the first couple of rounds of breath and then just find that pattern with ease. So as you're now flowing that effortless breath, I invite you to imagine that it is coming in and out through the center of your chest. So in your mind's eye, you might like to imagine that your breath is being breathed in through your heart and being breathed out through your heart. So you're simply inhaling and exhaling through your heart. And if you'd like to, you can go ahead and place your hands on the center of your chest as a way to connect in with that part of yourself. I now invite you to recall someone or something that you feel a sense of gratitude or appreciation for. It can be something from today or from the past, big or little. And then with your next inhale, I invite you to have that feeling of gratitude or appreciation be present with you now. And you're going to breathe that feeling into your heart and then just allow it to settle inside. And maybe with your next round of breath, you can extend that feeling of gratitude or appreciation to yourself. As Julia mentioned, it's a really beautiful thing that you've shown up for yourself and taken this time today for yourself. And so you can go ahead and breathe in that feeling of gratitude and appreciation of yourself with your next inhale. And with your next exhale, you might like to extend that feeling of gratitude and appreciation out to the other beautiful women on this call. We may not be able to see each other, but we are all connected in this moment in time. And now you can return your hands to your lap if you had them on your heart and just bring your focus back to your breath. Just going to take the next minute or so to again come back into that place of deep breathing. But imagining now with each inhale, we're energizing ourselves and getting ready to participate in the workshop. So when you're ready, you can maybe give your toes a little wiggle, give your fingers a little wiggle, and just slowly open your eyes. And then you can pick up your pen and again, just jot down what you're noticing about how you're feeling now. And then maybe reflect on the answer to the first question and the second question, and just if there's anything about that that's of interest to you. Beautiful. Thanks all of you for maybe trying something new. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to practice the techniques of heart math before, but I definitely recommend checking them out and incorporating them into your self-love practice. It's as simple as 5 minutes, maybe at the start or the end of a day, and it can make a really significant difference. I think our breath is one of the most powerful tools we have for change in our life. The idea of breathing from the heart, I think, is just a very beautiful self-loving concept. So I am keen to check in with you and see where we're all at in regards to self-love. So if you would be up for it, I would love for you to jot the answer to this question in the comments. And maybe, Julia, while people are doing that, I can hear from you over the video. So you're welcome to say hello, share your name, where you're, as Julia mentioned, where you're watching from. But I would like to know if your self-love practice or experience of self-love was a sandwich filling, what would it be? So I'll just say that again. So reflecting on your current self-love practice or experience of self-love, if you had to describe it by using a sandwich filling, what would it be? So maybe, Julia, as our beautiful attendees are having a think and popping in some responses, you can let me know what yours is.
Well, the first thing that popped to my mind was peanut butter.
Okay.
Because, well, mainly because that's probably been my favorite sandwich filling since I was a very young girl. And now I do try to go for the healthier options, so more like nut kind of spreads. But I feel like, you know, that's a nutritious thing. It gives you energy, and so you can, you know, last longer. And, you know, it's the texture of it. It's very smooth and kind of sticky. And I feel like when you're thinking about your love in your heart, you want something to be really like caressing and bold and smooth, and that's what I'm picturing peanut butter. I hope that's
There's some beautiful words. I don't know that I think you should ring up a peanut butter company and say on their next advertising campaign they should say things like bold and caressing when they're describing their spread. I love it.
Oh, okay, I'm glad you liked it. Okay, we've got a few coming in. Wow.
Seafood. Oh, I'm so fascinated. Chocolate spread.
Yum.
Beautiful. I think mine at the moment would be maybe the thing that just came to mind would be like a homemade strawberry jam. I think I got inspired by you just then, and I'm thinking indulgent and rich and a bit over the top almost, like really decadent. And I think that maybe more so reflects where I'd like my self-love to be. I think it's something that flows, and so maybe thinking of it like that is just a reminder to me that I can spend a bit more time practicing my self-love. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, ladies. If anyone would like to say anything else about the sandwich filling or heart math, feel free to pop.
So what does it mean when we, depending on what we've chosen?
I'm not going to psychoanalyze. It means whatever you want it to mean. I think we can all come to our own conclusions, but I think it's just a fun way to be a bit creative about, you know, an aspect of our life. And I mean, if someone said something like, you know, a limp lettuce leaf, then, you know, I might think to myself, oh, maybe that person's feeling like their self-love practice is a little lacking. But otherwise, I think it's just a creative way to start to get involved in the topic. That was my intention for asking the question.
Well, I definitely want to get some prawns, some king prawn status in my... Now I've seen the seafood.
Yeah, I'm curious what seafood.
What seafood are you thinking about in your sandwich with avocado? Maybe you can pop it in when we're...
I'm imagining now, prawns, I'm imagining like also an avocado, like you could take the sandwich filling out and make it a face mask from from the
Yeah,
avocado.
we should have done that tonight.
Well, maybe we could. Well, there's still time. We've still got 40 minutes, Julia. Everyone could whip over and get an avocado and apply while we journal. Thank you all for sharing your sandwich fillings. I wanted to, I guess, position self-love as I think it can be quite a big thing. Can anyone else relate to that idea? Maybe you can just pop a little response in the chat box. I think it's quite a hot topic. I think there's a lot of information out there about self-love, and sometimes that can be a little overwhelming and almost a barrier to our self-love. And so in the context of tonight's workshop, I want to first off start by saying I believe that we all love ourselves, that it's inherent, that what happens though is we sometimes just come out of alignment with that love or that knowing. And so the focus of the workshop is about our self-love practice, which is the way that we can come back into that place of love and stay there and live from that place. And I'm just curious if anyone can relate to that, this idea that sometimes you feel really connected to yourself and you're having a really beautiful, luscious day, feeling yourself, feeling love and appreciation for yourself, but something could happen in that day or the next day where you just kind of find that you've kind of fallen out of that flow. I'm curious if anyone can relate. Can you, Julia, relate to that idea that it's not this constant? It's not that I woke up one day and I love myself, and ever since then life has been lived from that place. It does ebb and flow slightly.
Yeah, and I definitely think it depends on the day and how you're feeling. And especially if you might do something wrong, you get that inner critic, which can be, you can be your own worst critic. I have found that sometimes when you're in an environment where, it's particularly in my old work, when you feel like you've made a mistake and then someone else is really cross, it's like, it's not very empowering because you're already feeling bad about it, let alone everyone else. So I think in times like that, it's really good to remember that to try and be nice and change those thoughts. So yeah, definitely.
And I think that when life gets a little challenging or a little difficult, that's when your self-love practice, I think, becomes really important. Your awareness that something's played out, and then knowing that you can reach into your toolkit and do something about it. So I think that living from a foundation of self-love in our life is done through consistent practice. It's the habits and the rituals which really fill our life day to day. But it's also, as we talked about in the promotion for this event, is about being a friend to yourself, getting to know yourself and spending time with yourself and by yourself. And so one thing, I just saw a couple of comments. Yeah, okay. Beautiful. Thank you both for sharing. I think we do find it easy to be kind to others, and I think sometimes we prioritise kindness to others sometimes before we prioritise kindness to ourselves. Yeah, and I think it can be a little bit of an adjustment. I don't know for you, but if I think about high school and the kind of messaging that I got at high school, it was definitely this idea of being considerate of others and taking care of other people and thinking about other people's feelings, and almost in a way it was seen as this egotistical idea to love yourself and be your own best friend. So I can really appreciate what you're saying about it being a hard concept. And so my offering to that would be just one bite at a time. I don't think we have to go from 0 to 100. If we're feeling a little out of love with ourselves, it's going to be very difficult to then dive into, feeling that overwhelming sense of love. So some of the techniques that we talk about today, the breathing, we're about to do some journaling, are just ways that you can just edge back in so it doesn't feel as hard. So we might then shift into some journaling. I've got 3 journaling prompts that I wanted to offer you for this idea of self-love. And what I might do is give you a chance to write them all down. Julia will also put these in the follow-up email to the workshop. And then I'm going to invite you to pick one of them and just spend a couple of minutes writing a response to it. I'm just going to play some music in the background. And then at the end of the journaling, I'll just check back in if anyone has anything that they would like to share before we then explore the 5 love languages. So journaling is a practice that I've had for most of my life. I think some of my earliest journals are from when I was about 8 that I still have. And I just find it's a way of being loving to myself because I create space to be with myself, and I think that's one of the most important parts of it. It's about being with myself and then having an outlet for what's going on inside. So I don't know, maybe let me know if any of you are regular journalers, but I will read out the 3 journaling prompts and then give you a couple.
A little question's come up.
Oh.
So do you journal about your day-to-day, or is it more about your feelings? Like, is it what's happened, or?
Sure. I do a little bit of both, but I guess I do less reflective, general kind of day-to-day. I might pick something specific. So I do journal most days. And I would say that the things that I would write about is whatever's current for me on a feelings level or on a life experience level. I often write myself a lot of notes, not, to-do lists, but notes to myself as if a best friend was writing to me. I think that's one way I use my journal. We talked about this practice of being our own best friend, and I think that's one way you can use your journal. If you're feeling, let's say something happened at work, someone didn't appreciate you or recognize you for something that you've done, you can use your journal as a way to process, those feelings or that experience by simply writing out how you might be feeling or what happened. And then you could also use your journal as a chance to, pretend that person maybe was saying the things to you that you wanted to hear.
So you wouldn't ever write down what you did, like what you had for breakfast or what you
could, if that's what is really interesting to you, and you're wanting to really kind of document your life and use it as a reflective piece to look back on, then sure, go ahead. But I guess we each use our journal in different ways.
Yeah. Well, someone said that they've been doing it since they were 12 years old.
Oh, amazing. Beautiful. Fabulous. Okay, so here are the 3 journal prompts. Julia, maybe as I say them, do you want to write them into the comments? Would that work?
Yeah.
For you? Okay, so the first one is just a statement that can inspire your journal writing, which is, who I used to be, I no longer am. So who I used to be, I no longer am. That's prompt number 1. Prompt number 2 is to take a current situation in your life and then ask yourself, coming from a place of self-love, how can I show up differently in this situation? So you're taking a current life situation and then asking yourself, coming from a place of self-love, how can I show up differently in this situation?
I'm not a very fast typer.
Perfect. Okay, and then the third prompt that you have to choose from is a little more creative, and you're going to create a self-love recipe. So if you think about a cake recipe, you've got your ingredients and you've got your method. They're the 2 components mainly of a recipe, but also there's usually a photo of what you're creating. So you can create a self-love recipe. So that would be your ingredients, your method, and maybe you might like to draw a picture of a self-love cake. So if you were to bake a self-love cake, what ingredients would you have? What would be the process? And what would it look like? So that one's a little more creative. Did you get that, Julia? Did I explain it okay? So it's create a self-love cake recipe.
Yeah.
And then in brackets, that just is ingredients, method, and drawing.
Oops. Okay, maybe when I'm writing the last one up, people can.
Yeah, so you all are welcome to now pick which one you're going to write about. I'm going to give you about 3 to 5 minutes. We'll see how we go for time to journal. Maybe at about 3 minutes, I'll just check in and then see if anyone has anything that they'd like to share. And I'll just play some music while you do that journaling. If anyone has any questions before we get started. Just if journaling's new to you, I want to say that there's no right or wrong way to journal. Whatever flows from your heart to your hand is perfect. And I'll just play some music now, Julia, and you can just let me know if the sound's coming across okay.
Okay, yeah.
So this will just take another minute or so to answer that journal prompt that we're working on. So you're welcome to keep working on your journaling, of course, later on today once we finish our webinar. But before we move on, I just want to check in and see if anyone has anything that they'd like to share from their journaling, maybe a new awareness or something that is curious to them about what they wrote down. Have you got anything, Julia, that you want to offer to the group?
Yeah, I think the first
Sorry, I just realised I turned my sound off. What was that?
Okay. Oh, I could hear you okay. The who I used to be and I no longer am, I was struggling a little bit with. Is that things that you used to be, you know, a part of your personality that you were and you've evolved into something else now, or
yeah, maybe
you want to be in the future?
Yeah, I think it connects in with that idea of parts of ourselves that maybe have changed or evolved over the years, parts of our personality, ways that we used to do things, and recognizing, I guess, that change and evolution is a natural part of life. And I think where self-love comes into it for me with that statement is giving ourselves the permission to change and be the new version of ourselves, and taking care of ourselves in that process, I guess.
Yeah, well, I did have one that was saying I thought that I used to be very uncertain and question myself all the time, and I'm trying to come away from that, and that's something I work towards as well. And yeah, someone's shared something with us, and I used to feel like, or used to be like a doormat trying to please everyone, and now I try to please myself while still trying to being effectively being at work and at home, trying to please others. Yeah, I guess, and also as women, I think we're naturally caregivers, and especially when you've got children as well. I don't have children, but I can see how you would feel like you need to put them first. It's hard to feel like your own needs are more important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that people pleasing aspect, or that people pleasing pattern, I guess, is one that a lot of us can relate to. And yeah, that's beautiful that you've recognized that, Verna, and are looking after yourself. It's a very self-loving thing to do.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you for sharing. I'm loving all these comments. And if anyone can share what kind of cake they envisage themselves.
Yes, did anyone create a self-love cake? Maybe it would be like a base would be like the peanut butter jam, and then we'd have the chocolate. Then we'd have the avocado and prawns for the middle, and we'd have the chocolate icing to go back to our self-love shares before. That would be an interesting cake.
It sounded good until you got to the seafood.
Well, that's the nutrients, I guess.
Yeah. You can make avocado cakes, I've heard. It's quite avocado cakes.
They're very dynamic avocados.
Yeah. Well, I was envisaging myself, I don't have a garden, but if I did, my cake would be a carrot cake because it's a big cake in our family. And if it was a self-love cake, I was envisaging myself, you know, picking the carrots.
Beautiful.
You know, thinking about it like that.
That's a very beautiful image, Julia. Okay, well, everyone, thanks for journaling. If you have any questions about that, feel free to pop them in the Q&A, and we can answer that. But I do encourage you to come back to those prompts if you want to do that after this call, or create some time for yourself over the next couple of days to just be with yourself and your journal. So as I mentioned before, self-love is a big topic, and today we're focusing on the practice of self-love, and I wanted to offer you a framework that you can use to create your self-love toolkit or build on your self-love toolkit. And I'm going to use the 5 love languages. So I was curious to hear if anyone is familiar with the 5 love languages, knows what their love language is. They might have taken the quiz to find out, or if the 5 love languages are new to you.
Well, it's completely new to me, so I can't wait to hear what they are. Does anyone else? Yeah, I'd love to know if anyone else has heard of them. New to me. Okay, brilliant.
So there's a website I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to technology, but I think if I go like that and then I go like that, yes, the website is now in the comment section. And again, we'll put it in the follow-up email. So the 5 love languages, the framework was developed by a psychologist in America. And there's 5 love languages: words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and gifts. And we usually use this framework to better understand our partner, or even you can do it with a child. So it looks at how we can better articulate our needs in a relationship, understanding how we give and receive love. But I wanted to flip that today and look at how we can apply our love language in relationship to our self-love. So it's okay if you don't know what your language is, but I do recommend you to check out the quiz at some point after this call, and then continue to explore this work. What I've done is come up with a couple of ideas for each love language. So you're welcome to take note of some of them, and then once you find out what your love language is, you might then focus on, your self-love practice. So we'll start with words of affirmation, which is actually one of my top love languages. And words of affirmation is all about words, spoken and written, and expressing love or appreciation through spoken and written words. So if you are someone who has words of affirmation as a love language, the couple of ideas that I had for you was, the first one was a take on a gratitude list. So I think I'm going to assume we're familiar with this idea of a gratitude list or a gratitude journal, writing down things we're thankful for. One thing you can do as part of your self-love practice, if you're a words of affirmation person, is instead create what I like to call like a "you did great today" list. And it can be something as simple as a piece of paper on the fridge, or it might be something in your journal where each day you just jot down the things that you did really well. It might be didn't press the snooze button, or was really tired and gave yourself permission to press the snooze button, got the bus on time, made a smoothie for breakfast. So they're just really everyday things that you did to show that you're important, that you're of worth and value, and you're taking care of yourself. And you just kind of keep that list running. I set myself a challenge for a week. I had to write down 20 things I did every day for a week. At first it was a little challenging, but by the end of the week I was writing 30 or 40 things. It just became part of my everyday, this idea of celebrating myself for the things that I did well. Another tip or tool for if you're a words of affirmation person is to write yourself a love note. And then we talked about this on the live, didn't we, Julia? And then I suggested the idea of actually posting it. So again, receiving those words of affirmation from yourself to yourself in the form of a love letter, or it might be a simple post-it note that you put on the mirror in the bathroom when you're getting ready. And then the third idea I had for this one was to listen to something like, for those of you who are familiar with Louise Hay, she's passed away, but she was an American woman who worked a lot in the personal development space, and she has some great free resources on YouTube that are just a recording of her sharing positive affirmations. So if you're a words of affirmation person, hearing that just playing in the background while you're doing the dishes or having it as part of your meditation practice could be a really beautiful way to build on your self-love. I'm curious if anyone feels like listening to those, that words of affirmation could be their love language. The next one is physical touch. And so that's all about, obviously, touch and physical presence. And so the couple of ideas I had for that one, if your love language is physical touch, is to give yourself a foot massage before you go to bed. And you could incorporate some beautiful essential oils into that. Or maybe it's to take a bath. So it's to be with your physical body, it's to have physical sensations and experiences, and that loving touch. Another idea could be that you can hold your own hand as you go to sleep. The third one I've got here is quality time, which is all about uninterrupted time and presence. So one simple way that we can do that with ourselves is the idea of having a cup of tea, but really being present with that experience. So choosing a beautiful mug, taking time to brew your cup of tea, sitting maybe on the couch or by the window and sipping that tea and bringing consciousness to the activity. You might like to do the same thing with eating dinner, the idea of doing it without any distraction, just being in that moment, giving yourself that gift of time and your own presence. For those of you who like nature, it might be a beautiful walk in nature without your phone and just taking that time to slow down. And then there's two more. The next one is acts of service, which is really about receiving support. So one idea I had was to make a playlist on Spotify maybe or iTunes of beautiful songs that you really enjoy, a self-love soundtrack maybe that you create for yourself and then have it as a resource when you need it. Julia talked at the beginning of the call about maybe having a difficult day at work or with a colleague and how that can rock your centre. And so having that in your toolkit, you can get on the bus and play your self-love playlist. Another one might be as simple as making your bed or tidying an area in your home or doing something nice for a stranger. Random acts of kindness definitely can make us feel good about ourselves too. So that was for acts of service. And then the last one is gifts, which is really about thoughtfulness and kind gestures. So the couple of ideas I had for that one was to spend time in a bookshop and buy yourself a new book or a new gift. It could be a candle or something else that you've wanted in your home. And then when the shop assistant asks, is this a gift? You know, would you like it gift wrapped? You say yes, because you're deserving of having that gift wrapped just like you would when you're giving it to a friend. Part of this love language is it's not just necessarily about the gift itself, but the act of giving. And so another suggestion I had was to have a crafternoon, spend some time doing some craft and making yourself a gift, maybe something for Christmas. So you're in that process of creating with love and intention for yourself. So they were the 5 love languages. And as I said, that was a framework that you can use to create some self-love tools that you can practice. I know that they were new to a lot of you on the call today. So I'm just curious to hear, as you heard those 5 love languages and a couple of suggestions, which one felt like it resonated with you the most? Which one do you think might be your language and the one that you're curious to explore? Maybe Julia, you can reflect on that first.
Yeah, I have to say I do love languages, the words of affirmation, and I've been trying to do that, but also to identify in your day, if you really think about it, there might be things that you do for yourself already that you don't realize, like having a cup of tea in the morning. You know, you make sure you always do that, and that's your time. That's even cherishing it even more and making sure that things don't get in the way from that. And then in my afternoon, I've actually been making, because I really love hot chocolates. No, it's not healthy. So I've been making it with this nut milk and cacao and making a healthy version. And it is really good. And then you feel like you're getting nutrients and it's my time and it's a treat. It's not too unhealthy, but I realize I really value it. It's a warm drink and it really makes me feel like, I don't know, it helps me get centered.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think you spoke, you mentioned a really important point, Julia, that a lot of these things we're probably already doing. And I think just bringing that next level of attention and awareness creates that really anchoring, grounding feeling of self-love. But also, you know, the idea that we are doing some of these things already just demonstrates to you that self-love doesn't have to be difficult or hard or challenging. It can be really easy. It's the day-to-day things that we do and just create a beautiful habit out of. Physical touch. Oh, beautiful. Bath, making tea and enjoying it. Yeah, yum. And for those of you who don't have a bath, you can make a foot bath. You can just get a bucket and soak your feet at the end of the day. But bath is one of my favourite things to do too. So before we wrap up, and I hand back over to Julia, I just wanted to put to you a challenge, I guess, or an invitation to commit to one of the activities that we've talked about on today's call. So we did the heart math breathing, we've done the journaling, and then we went through some activities, some self-love tools related to the love languages. I would love for you to commit to one of those things that you can practice for the next couple of days. And if you'd like to, you can pop in the comments and share with the group what it is that you'll be choosing to do as part of your self-love practice over the next couple of days. Maybe we can also share ours, Julia, as well.
Well, I'd like to share something that actually I do with my husband, which is quite personal, but I think it's a good time. It feels like it's relevant. So we have this, I showed you earlier, Rosie, because you made me think of it, but we have this advent calendar, and it's one of those 3D ones with lots of presents. And because I'm not eating chocolate at the moment, we decided to write notes to each other for each door. So every other day we have a door we open and the other person opens it, and it's a note. And we wrote, like, it's going to sound really cheesy, but we wrote, like, one was a couple of love poems, and one was like, what would you do for that other person? Like, bake him a bacon and egg roll that morning, and he knows I like tea, so have tea in bed. But it's really nice. Every day we get up and it's like a little, I know it's for someone else, but I thought you can do that for yourself. Like, even leading up to Christmas, and for the next few days, have this little, create a whole pile of notes and then just open them for yourself, because it's amazing how good that feels.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have a little, we talked about this on the live, I think, as well, having a little letterbox, love letterbox, where you can those words that, as a words of affirmation love language person, you usually very freely and lovingly give and express to others, you can do the same back to yourself. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I think I will commit, not I think, I will. I will commit to, I'm going to go back over I think I'm going to come back to heart math. I think I'm going to commit to just a more regular practice, 5 minutes day and night for the next couple of days, just to strengthen that muscle. Just like you go to the gym, I feel like that's a way to take myself to the emotional gym. So when that wobble happens that we talked about, I can just come back much quicker to my foundation. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share? Maybe as they're reflecting or going to type something in, Julia, do you want to talk about the...
Yeah, so Rosie's really kindly giving away her book and her journal. So it's Reflections. And what's the Reflections book about, Rosie?
So this is 365 journaling prompts to inspire you to speak your truth and share your heart. So that's a book that I put together, and this is an eco-friendly blank journal.
Okay, amazing. So we just want people to write into us using the chat or the Q&A. What has been the most effective exercise or tool that you've learned in this session today that you think can support your self-love practice ongoing? And yeah, we're just going to have a couple of question and answers. If you've got any other questions, we're just going to be reading them out. So yeah, just pop them in the chat or pop them in the Q&A. And yeah, let us know what you think you'll be using from the session. And then we'll choose a winner at the end. So yeah, we've got a couple of questions, and please feel free to add them as we go along. So as we're just talking, so we've got a few, or actually we haven't got long at all. But so Rosie, as a question has come up, how many times a week should we put aside for our self-love?
Every day.
Every day. Wow. I don't think many people, well, I'm definitely not doing that, so it's a good point.
So if the idea is that you're the most important person in your life, and if you're not, living from a good place, whether it's your health, well-being, emotionally, mental, physically, it's very hard, I guess, to then show up for others. So my suggestion would be that self-love is one of your number one priorities. You could also replace that with the idea of self-care or wellness or well-being, but that you take time for you every single day.
Okay, yeah.
And if that's not something that you're already doing, like we talked about before, that's going to be too much of a stretch. So just start with bite-sized pieces. It might be, well, I'm going to make it really easy. So I get the bus to work every day, so I'm just going to take 5 minutes every day on the bus and not be on Instagram, and instead I'm going to practice heart math breathing. So it doesn't have to be onerous, but my suggestion would be every day.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good to know. Okay, someone's put when I think about self-love, it does make me feel a little bit emotional. Is this normal, or will I feel better the more that I do it?
Absolutely. Yes. I think, I don't know what emotions you're referring to, but so you're welcome to just add a little bit as I'm talking. But yes, feeling emotional, and that being a normal thing, whether it's kind of it might be a sense of sadness, or underneath that it might be a emotional kind of sense of love, I guess, for ourselves. So the answer to the first part of the question is, yeah, I think that's totally normal, totally okay, totally valid. And Julia, can you just remind me of the second part?
And so we're doing these practices every day. Will that improve our happiness, or make that emotion, turn from sadness into happiness?
Yeah, okay. So if when you maybe spend time with yourself, or you care about yourself, or you sense into knowing that you're deserving of that love, if that makes you feel a little bit sad or guilty or whatever it might be at first, then having a practice of self-love or self-care will absolutely shift that. I would say quite quickly, but it will absolutely shift. And one way that I would suggest starting out with that is just, make it easy on yourself, be gentle with yourself. So things like the Louise Hay, we could put this in the email maybe, free video on YouTube of 50 affirmations, just positive affirmations, loving statements. Just playing that while you're doing things like the washing up can just start to lessen the intensity of those maybe heavy emotions. And then when you feel a little stronger, or a little lighter about it, that's maybe when you could do something that would be a bit of a stretch maybe right now, like giving yourself a foot massage or whatever it might be.
Okay, brilliant. That sounds really good. So someone said, how long have you been practicing self-love, and how long did it take for you to notice the benefits?
I would say that I have been practicing self-love activities since I was very little. I used to go to seminars that taught me about things like positive affirmations and journaling and meditation and things like that as a child. That doesn't mean that I have nailed self-love, or I don't need reminders, or that I don't experience, my inner critic or anything like that. So I've been playing with self-love for most of my life. I would say, though, it was a breakup last year that really encouraged me to dive a lot deeper into it and make it that non-negotiable part of my life experience. So I'm 32, so there was a big jump from 5 when I first started learning about it to being 32 and coming back to it as a non-negotiable. And then what was the end of the question, and what did I notice?
Yeah, how long did it take for you to see the benefits?
I would say, again, pretty fast. I think in 2 ways. Fast in the moment. So the practice of self-love, self-care, well-being, when I have a wobble, or like have a challenge that we've talked about, a challenge with another person, or a day when I just look in the mirror and find it really hard to just go, I love you, babe, kind of vibe. I've noticed that the habit and the practice of self-love, the time it takes from being out of it to coming back into it is a lot shorter, like sometimes minutes as opposed to maybe days, like in the past I've experienced. And for me, it was things like listening to Louise Hay just on repeat in the background that I would say really, from going from being in a pretty difficult place after a breakup, it was really just a couple of weeks, I think, to get back into that place of, even though I was sad and even though I had challenge and, it brought up a lot of things, I still knew that my value and that I loved myself and was deserving of love.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that, Rosie. That sounds really good. And it sounds like a lot of like when we're trying to do anything that's new, like a new habit, it takes, you know, you go through a really good period of doing it, then you might come away, and then when you come back, it's always easier to get back into it again, even if you might come away from it.
And think about the gym. Like, you don't go to the gym having never lifted a weight and think, I'm going to, you know, bench 200 kilos. You might start with 2, but you might notice pretty quickly you can go to 3 and then 4. So I think it would be the same with your self-love practice.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, we've got a few answers. I don't know how we're going to pick this, but maybe just the first one that's come in. So someone said, with the self-love practice, it's something that I could do with my child as well. We both sit side by side and do our self-love together. I think that's so awesome. That's brilliant. And then you're teaching your child the value of self-love. And someone else has put, the breathing really helped me feel in control again. And that is what I'm going to take from this session, as well as writing 20 things that I do for myself that, as I can only think of 2 right now, so I need to work on that. Yes, absolutely. That's really, really brilliant.
Excellent.
So yeah, I just think we just have to pick the first one that came in, which
I think there was one more here as well about doing some journaling.
Okay, yeah. Yes. Yeah, really thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Yeah, so I think we're gonna, if that's okay with you, Rosie, we'll just go with this. So yeah, Yvette, we're gonna get your details and get this posted off to you.
And you can definitely do journaling with your little one.
Yay!
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Right. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Rosie, for joining us today. That was really, really great. And it's just such a great reminder. As you said, it's a bit of a hot topic right now, but it's also something that we might be a hot topic, but do we actually do it, and do we believe it? That's why these practices really try and ingrain that. So thank you for joining us for that really good session.
Beautiful to spend this time with you all. Thank you for being here.
Oh, we've got a few thank yous. So I just wanted to do a quick mention. I know we're going over time, but next week's workshop, we've partnered with the Posify group, and they're coming from a positive psychology background, and we're going to be looking at goal setting, but with your career in mind. So how do we get a purposeful driven career and make 2019 the most meaningful year yet? It's going to be really exciting. I'll post about it in the week leading up to it. But yeah, that's on next week. So yeah, please join us for that. It's going to be really awesome. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the session. This video will be made available to everyone who's registered for this class. We'll be giving that out Saturday, and I'm going to include all Rosie's notes, such as the Louise Hay videos and some other bits that she posted in the love languages. That's all really great. So you'll get that on Saturday. And yeah, thank you so much again to Rosie. And keep going for your goals, ladies, and believing in yourselves. And I hope to see you really soon.
And I love you all. We haven't met. Love is always available. And
yes, reach out to Rosie. Sorry, quickly, Rosie. I have put your details in the chat, but what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
You can. I'm on Instagram, rosies.heart. Like Rosie's _heart. But I'll be on, you'll connect with me through the Thrivers Instagram, or you can just email me, rosie@rosieohalloran.com.
Okay, perfect. I'll put your details in the email as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Have a great day. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.